Alright guys, so I'm going to try this real quick. It says start. I want to see if it picks up the one that says that they're waiting for us on. And I have a feeling it's not. So if that's the case, I'm going to change it because I need it to pick up what we're actually doing. Quick, it says start. I want to see if it picks up the one. Yeah, but where did that... Let me see. Okay, yes, it is that one. All right, so it's picked up in that one. All right, so we are on the correct one because when I clicked on that video, it shows that it's actually playing in that video. All right, I don't know why it always does like that though. It makes it like only 3 people are waiting, but yet if you click on that video, that's one we're live on. So, all right, here we go. So let me I just realized something. We're supposed to share the screen too, so we got a problem here. Give me 1 second to try to fix this. Nope, not that. 1 second, guys. There we go. I just realized we need to share the screen, so I'm going to bounce you guys around just a little bit while I do this. And there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. And because I got to get the other side open on there too. Move that all the way down to the bottom. There we go. Now, and then let's see, we need to have the display back on. And the display has got to be smaller. Move that there. Ta-ta-da. All right. Now you guys should see it better there. So now let me go over there to the YouTube side real quick. I've already got these all picked up for you. Which way do you want to start on?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Side? Okay,
doesn't matter. We're just going to kind of chat and play a few things for people, and then I want to talk about Israeli Bible.
All right, so you want me to go ahead and play the video, or what are we watching here? Israeli teachers.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we are on now, like live
yes,
officially.
We're live.
Oh, okay,
we are live.
Okay. So can people hear us well?
Oh, I'm sure they can hear us okay. If you guys can give us a thumbs up for being able to hear us, that would be good. So, because we're kind of watching that side. Everything's a delay for them, too, on them seeing and hearing. So it takes a second or two for them to pop up. But anyway, go ahead and start telling us about this. So while we're waiting for that. So
can they hear?
Yeah, they say it works great.
Okay, good. Okay. So we just came to chat about issues in Middle East, in Israeli issues, and I just want to make a statement for Israeli News Live. If somebody has a certain opinion, if you speak for Palestinians and how they're dying, the children are dying, and the strong response that Israel had to Hamas attacks, there is this rumor that if you in any way protect or speak for the innocent Palestinians, you are on the side of the terrorists. So I do want to make it very clear that we condemn here in Israeli News Live, we condemn the actions of Hamas. We do recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization. However, we also know, and it was Rand Paul that showed to the world and to the Americans originally that Hamas was in fact financed by Israel.
Yes.
So, we understand what happened there, and we condemn the actions of Hamas, and we are for every life, Israeli life and Palestinian life. And what we would like is to see them to live in peace, side by side, as brothers as they are. Because biblically speaking, the promise, biblical promise was what to Abraham, that his children are going to inherit the land, right? Even if we look at it from the physical side of scripture, not the spiritual side, I personally believe and take side that it spoke about the spiritual seed, about Christ. The promise is about Christ. It's not about physical land at all. But let's say that it is about physical land. Well, the children of Abraham are not only Jews, there are also Arabs, right? Ishmael is Abraham's son.
Yes.
So they have their place as well. And definitely they do not deserve treatment that they get, this overwhelming response. And we have how many children died by now?
Over 40,000.
This is
Children. I'm
children.
sorry, 20,000.
Right. That's and the horrific conditions. So if you are a Christian and you don't feel in your heart that something wrong is happening, there is something wrong with you as a Christian. There is something majorly wrong with you. If you are a Christian and you're calling for Palestinian blood, there is something wrong with you, and you need to examine yourself. And your faith, and the way you interpret the scripture, and the way you understand Christ and the New Testament. But here again, statement for Israeli News Live: we condemn the actions of Hamas. We don't like innocent Israelis dying. Go ahead.
It's not only that. The thing is, in this country here, the United States loves to sanction those nations that are empowering the enemies to be able to do wrong to someone else. So, for example, they sanction Russia so that Russia cannot attack Ukraine. They don't just go after Russia, but they go after the country, sending them money, sending them weapons, sending them supplies. Well, in this case here, the evil that's behind all of this was Netanyahu and his government, his coalition, who said they had to fund Hamas to keep the Palestinian, the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, from gaining momentum and becoming a state. So therefore, Israel is the one that funded Hamas. They're the ones that give them the ability to buy rockets and everything else. They sent nothing but truckloads of cash in that Qatar was supplying. And in fact, when Qatar said at one point, do you want us to continue to fund, to give Hamas money? And of course, Netanyahu said in 2018, yes, we need them to have the money. So you funded them, and now you complain. Now, I agree that what they did to the Israeli people was a tragedy, but
yes.
I can't help but wonder who was the one funding the tragedy.
Right. So we love people on both sides. We are pro-life. We are for them to live in peace, and we are definitely against what's happening. And we want to bring you here some of the Israelis, okay, the Jewish people themselves who disagree with actions of Israeli government. For example, this is a 56-year-old Israeli teacher, ex-IDF reservist from Haifa, advocates for refusal to serve in the IDF, and heavily criticizes Israel's crimes against the Palestinian people, including the mass killing and starvation. He recorded this video and posted it in social media, partly to make his position public and show his students sharing his personal experience of the horrors that the Israeli army conducts and their impact. He later faced fierce media backlash, and the head of his municipality, Nasher in Haifa, asked the authorities to fire him from his job. So here we go, the Jewish people in the state of Israel suffering injustice if they speak out for the life of Palestinians, and it's transferring here to this country too. Our people are being persecuted, Americans are being persecuted if they speak for life, or if they are against killing children. So why don't we play this? He speaks in Hebrew. If you can keep stopping and reading for people the subtitles. Where is the video?
I'm waiting for it to get to.
Shalom.
My name is Ofer Shore. I am 56 years old, and I live in Haifa, a father of two boys. My first experience with the occupation was when I was serving in the army in the first Intifada uprising. And I spent many weeks and months both in Gaza and the West Bank, during which I saw for the first time firsthand the horrors of the occupation. what it does to the occupiers, and mainly what it does to the occupied, the dehumanization and the endless crimes that controlling the other people brings with it.
אינסוף פשעים ששליטה על עם אחר מביאים איתם. כל פעם שהייתי...
Every time I went out to serve and faced the experiences of occupation, the distress got bigger and bigger, the crimes were bigger.
של הכיבוש, המועקה הייתה יותר גדולה, הקשיים היו יותר גדולים.
I also saw that it was totally unrelated to the security, but simply a matter of power and control. My distress and frustration from these things increased from the things I had to do and the things I saw others doing. And when the second Intifada broke out in the year 2000, it was the watershed moment for me. I decided to no longer serve in the occupied territories, and I will refuse if necessary. In 2002, when the refusal letter for the army conscription was published, I was one of the signatories. And afterwards, I was dismissed from being a reservist. Today, when I see what happens in Gaza, the mass killing, the mass destruction, the expulsion, the systematic starvation, the blocking of aid, the dehumanization, the crimes that were coming in Gaza, committing in Gaza. And when I see the things happening, the parallel in the West Bank, the rampage of the settlers, the killing and the destruction, and the endless violence that only goes and grows dozens of times bigger than when I was a soldier. And it only gets worse and worse. And when I see all these things, I have no doubt that what I did at the time was the right move. And I have no doubt that I would do it again today.
Okay. So basically, this is not only him. This is enormous amounts of people in Israel.
Breaking the silence.
Yes, there is a Breaking the Silence group, yes.
Yes.
Of IDF soldiers who are speaking of the crimes that have been perpetrated on these people. And listen, this is not about whether they are Muslims. There's a lot of Palestinian Christians that live in those territories and suffer tremendous horrors. So this is definitely wrong of the Zionist Christians in this country, that they are silent about such atrocities. This is a shame on Christianity in general. So we need to really speak up, those of us who really do understand. Now, the next video here is just so you understand how Christians are treated by Israeli youth. They spit on the Christians when they walk by. They harass them. They pee on churches. So this is just a video that came in, just example how Israeli settlers assaulted German Christian clergy in Jerusalem. Go ahead.
But I know for the police that you were attacking me.
But you cannot do this.
Don't take a picture, take it down.
You know, come
Take
on,
it down.
this is not, you are touching me, you have no right to touch me, you have no right to touch me. Yeah. Hey, come on. Very good, good to make a picture of him. It's very good.
It's good he's standing up for himself.
Yeah.
right? No. It's not the fucking law, huh? No, he spit on me, he spit on me and he touched me, because, the police is always asking, then, I need a picture of his face. This is what
That's their attitude for Christians in general in Israel. So a lot of these, Israel is now under the right-wing government with Ben Gvir and who was Kahanist, okay, and their attitudes toward Christianity in general is like no better than for Palestinians. So who is next in Israel? Well, it's the Christians that will be able to live there are only the ones who will sign up for Noahide laws. The rest will have to leave. So this is just the beginning of what's happening.
Yes, the next video that we have up here, OMT News, is bringing out an American activist that was killed in Palestine. This is not the first time this has happened. There have been many activists that have been killed in Palestine over in whether it be Gaza or the West Bank. And here again is another one. And of course, what's interesting, and I think they bring out, I think I've seen this newscast already, they talk about how that if it's an American that's a hostage, it's a big deal. If it's an American hostage that gets killed by the Palestinians or by Hamas, it's a big deal. Should be shouted around the world. But when Israelis kill American activists standing up for Palestinians, that's always suppressed.
Nobody cares, and the press did not release this. President did not
nobody
speak
cares.
about. Nobody cares. So
because you're not on the side
Yes.
that they want you to be on.
Right.
So let's listen in because we want to stand for these people.
The hypocrisy of the U.S. government and their consistent shielding of Israel, despite clear evidence of atrocities, has become glaringly worrisome. It's as if the mask of righteousness that the U.S. wears on the global stage is gradually peeling away, exposing a deeply unsettling reality. For years, Washington has presented itself as the torchbearer of human rights, always quick to condemn and sanction countries like China, Russia, Venezuela, and Iran for their alleged violations. Yet when it comes to Israel, the supposed dedication to human dignity and justice vanishes into thin air. This double standard is impossible to ignore, particularly when one examines the case of Aysenur Ezi-Agi. Aysenur, an American activist of Turkish origin, was brutally gunned down by Israeli occupation forces in Beita, a town south of Nablus in the West Bank. The violence occurred during a protest against Israeli settlement activity, a weekly event where tensions between the local Palestinian population and the occupying forces regularly escalate into confrontations. A live bullet to the head ended Aysenur's life in a manner so gruesome that it's hard to believe the deafening silence from Washington in the aftermath. This was no stray bullet. Medical teams who rushed her to the Rafidia Governmental Hospital in Nablus found her brain tissue outside her skull. Despite their efforts to save her life, she succumbed to her injuries. For anyone who has watched U.S. foreign policy over the years, it's hard not to draw some bitter conclusions. If this had happened in a country like Iran or Venezuela, we know the response would have been swift and severe. American officials would have been outraged, demanding justice and threatening sanctions. But because the bullet that killed Aysenur likely came from a weapon supplied to Israel by the United States, there is barely a murmur. There is no fiery speech from Anthony Blinken, no tough words from the White House. It's almost as if Aysenur's American citizenship didn't matter. This is a far cry from the usual posturing about defending American lives at all costs.
I want to say this is why we are facing the same opposition in the death of your father. I believe it's because we have made a stand against Israel. And there is, I won't say definitively here, but there is some suggestion of evidence that clearly indicates that perhaps that the death of my father-in-law we were being targeted because of our stance, our views, and our beliefs.
Well, let's just present facts and let people be the judge, because we're going to have a 6 p.m. tonight live right here. Yeah. And I will be talking about how betrayed we were by medical freedom community, Israeli News Live, our platform, us, my family. Yeah. We were treated horrifically, and we have been made to be quiet for 2.5 years, and I will no longer be quiet. Yeah. So all of this is going to be spoken about because of the honor of my father, for his honor, we loved him, so we are not going to allow this.
Approached on many occasions by the very what do you call the people there that actually send you out requests to do interviews of doctors and things, publicists. And there was one publicist in particular, because we'd interviewed so many of the doctors and made them very well known very rapidly, such as Brian Artis and many others, that their publicists started getting in touch with me to interview even more and more doctors. So they knew that this platform here really put them in the spotlight around the world, very well known. In fact, Brian Artis made that statement on his own program about Israeli News Live to Tal Bron, when he stated that, he said, if you want to become known, go on Israeli News Live. Even Robert Kennedy will see you there. So
we are going to talk about this. Yeah. Let's talk about this tonight, 6 o'clock.
6 p.m. Eastern, live tonight, right back here. You want to be here. Invite your friends, family, everybody you possibly can. This is going to be a very important message, one that's not been released to the public thus far, because you've not heard from Jana on this matter. And tonight you will. So let's move on. Are we done with this video here? I know it's a long video.
Well, we can see what else they have to say. Basically, this was American activist shot by IDF, and nobody hears about it. We have to go to alternative media to hear about this.
Let me move it to this part here and see what we got.
It's chronic. And the U.S. keeps saying that they are devastated, that they are appalled. But this is not the first American to be killed, murdered by Israeli soldiers and settlers. Rachel Corrie, more than 25 years ago, was killed as she was trying to protect Palestinian children, actually to be precise, in 2003.
That's it.
And not just Americans, also British. Tom Handel, a young 22-year-old British who's a photographer, when trying to cuddle a Palestinian child, was shot in the head again by an Israeli sniper. All that you have followed in the last few months, the aid workers, the World Kitchen, 3 of them is British aid workers.
Ambassador, I wonder what you make of, we've had statements from, as we just played there, from Secretary of State Antony Blinken. We've also had a statement from the White House calling for an investigation, saying they have asked Israel to answer their questions about this. Is the US doing enough on the situation in the West Bank?
Absolutely not. I mean, calling for Israel to investigate Israel's own war crimes, calling for the war criminals to come up with a verdict about themselves. Look, when an American citizen is killed anywhere else in the world, the U.S. is swift in sending the FBI, in sending their own crews, in enacting international judicial mechanisms and courts. But always when it comes to Israel, the U.S. is completely impotent. And so is the rest of the West, by the way. And that's why Israel has gotten used to Simon. Israel has gotten used to this utter impunity and killing with complete free hand of peace activists. These youngsters...
Well, they say they will look into it.
They have been saying this for 76 years. You know how many cases? Oh, we are looking into it. And I assure you, next time you and I will be talking about the next peace activist Israel would have.
Exactly.
How about USS Liberty? That was called for investigation.
Israel can kill, murder, and maim anybody they want. And I want to say something. They get away with
everything.
I want to say something about the girl being shot in the head trying to protect the child. Israel will probably come out, if they were to even answer, and they'll probably say it was an accident, he missed. I qualified when I was a police officer as a distinguished master of arms. Sniper grade, okay? I hate that. I don't mean it to be bragging or nothing like that, but we don't miss. Let's face it, we don't. Depending on the distance. I mean, now if he was shooting, say, at a half a mile away, okay, maybe so. You could miss. The wind direction, things like that. Most of these shots are done within 300 meters of shooting someone, and you're not going to miss. I hate to say it. They target those journalists because they are an activist because of who they are. And even when they have the bulletproof vest on, the reason they shoot the head is because they want to make sure they kill you.
That's right. That's right.
So
let's
just face it.
Let's play a little bit more of this gentleman. He's speaking great words.
And they would say, they would say we are looking.
Up to date on the situation in Jenin because Israeli forces have now pulled out of that area.
Yeah, they have pulled out, leaving a tsunami, an earthquake that is man-made by them, complete utter mass murder and mass destruction of the basic infrastructure in the city, including road.
Now, when he talks about an earthquake created by them, Amir said in one of his broadcasts recently, only God can do earthquakes. No, I actually shared directly from Israeli intelligence that yes, in fact, they were bragging about an earthquake they created in Turkey. So no, it's totally not true. We're going to have to wrap up pretty soon. So let's go ahead.
It's okay. We have a little more time. So
Okay.
go ahead. I mean, this is very important broadcast.
Okay, let's continue on. I can't believe that she's not. I mean, she should. I mean, maybe as a journalist, she's trying to be. But it's almost like she's trying to blow this guy off, and I can't understand why. Let's listen.
Sewage system, water treatment plants, hospitals, schools. They are doing exactly what they're doing in Gaza, in Jenin, because never the target is these few youngsters.
Let me
West Bank,
comment
by the way.
on what he
That's
says here.
yeah.
Because listen,
Go ahead.
I've got a lot of Christian friends that'll say, Steve, the Hamas terrorists are using the hospital. All right. We did a film on this a little while back. I actually showed you guys where they had taken and staged the whole thing so that when they filmed it, they can make it look like Hamas was using the hospital as a command center. All right, totally bogus, baloney, garbage. Now, would I not say that there might not be somebody from Hamas at the hospital trying to take refuge? Sure, I wouldn't doubt it. I don't doubt 2 or 3 people might be in there trying to do that. But does that give Israel the excuse to blow up hundreds of innocent people that are also trying to take refuge? As a general rule, the Hamas have these tunnels that are nearly impenetrable by the bombs. Of course, they've got the hostages down there, and they generally are in places like that. That's where they normally are. But even then, you don't have to carpet bomb an entire city to get these terrorists, and in the process you're killing the hostages that should have been set free already by now. Israel has had multiple opportunities to make a deal to get these hostages free, but one by one you slaughter them. Why do you think Israelis are in such a mass protest right now in Israel? Once again, like they were for the judicial reform, now they're calling for Netanyahu's resignation because there's very few hostages left because Israel has killed more of them by bombing them, but then turn around and say, oh, Hamas shot them right before we got to them.
Right.
What a garbage.
No, this is just a pre-planned tactic for, they just doing ODed Yinon plan. It's a greater Israeli project. And this is the way to achieve that ODed Yinon plan. I mean, they have it pre-planned, let's face it. So it's a land grab. That's what it is for their Jewish kingdom, Jewish earthly kingdom that they're planning. And they're preparing infrastructure with the Noahide laws in Israel. So anybody who is not Jewish and wants to live there will have to be on the Noahide laws because that's the law of their land. They're on the Judaic law, and that's the Judaic law. And then they are trying to persuade all the nations to write in like kind of in a sneaky, very sneaky way, to write a Noahide laws within their judicial systems, like here through education, and through a moment of silence in public schools. And all of this has to be very exposed. So, yeah, we do have a little more time, Stevie, about
Do you
5
want to
minutes.
share some of the books, though, that you brought?
Well,
with
you know, that deserves its own attention. So
Okay,
I
all
don't
right,
want to
all right.
just, I want to give it the proper attention. So why don't we stay on this subject, and then we'll come back to maybe reporting tomorrow or after tomorrow.
I'm so distraught.
Me too.
You
Me
know,
too, Steve.
I was such a strong Zionist.
Yes.
I stood with Israel to
So did
the
I.
point that's a shame. Because, you know, the reason why I say it's a shame, I lived there. I moved there in 2004. I owned my own company. I had a big trucking company. I was able to go. My uncle worked for me. He was retired Navy, so he was able to run the operation for me, so I could go do what I wanted to do. I'd really done very well in life at an early age, and so I went there. I lived among the people. It was during the Second Intifada, near the end of the Second Intifada, but the country was practically desolate. And I learned a lot about what was going on then. And I saw the mistreatment of Palestinians.
But Steve, you were still pro-Israel.
I know.
So
I
what
know.
what it took for you to get the
It
heart
was a
open?
lot, right? Because see, the thing is I would see it and I would be troubled by it.
But you were still
know,
brainwashed in the
Yeah,
Zionist Schofield.
I didn't want to let
Schofield.
go. Yeah, because my ideology was so mixed up.
And so
I had
strong.
this idea that you can, God wants everybody in the land dead. It didn't even occur to me. You're negating, Steve, the blood of Jesus Christ, because when you sit there and quote an Old Testament law that he fulfilled everything and he came and gave his life, his blood, and then you sit there and you justify the killing and the wiping off of a human race there because of an Old Testament law, and you totally negate Jesus Christ, and not to mention the Christians that were being murdered.
Yes.
Do you realize they drove, I think, 80% of the Christians out of Bethlehem, and I never stood one time for them. Only one time did I make a stand for the Palestinians back in 2004. And that's when my roommate, we were talking one night, and he began to tell me about target practicing on living Palestinians. And I'm like, at first I thought he was kidding me, right? I thought he really was. And I said, Iran. That was his name, Iran. I said, Iran. I said, you did what? So we target practice on them. And I'm like, I said, Haran, I said, you cannot, I said, they're still human beings. He said, Stephen, they're animals. They're not human beings, they're animals.
Right. That's exactly
Oh my
what they
God.
believe.
What tragedy.
So basically you live with regret, great regret. And I live
regret.
with tremendous regret myself because
Because I take you to Israel. I'm
Yeah.
so excited
We
about
have-
my people.
Yes.
Our people, literally, by kinship of a blood. Not by the heart and spirit, but by kinship of blood. Yeah, we were Jewish descent,
brainwashed.
Right.
Okay. So what happens? Brainwashing can be so strong that you can do atrocities and support atrocities and use name of God to do it. We've been there. We have done that. We are living with regrets because good Lord gave us sight. He gave us sight and opened our hearts, and we looked at the situation properly and examined our belief and Schofield Bible and interpretation. And thank God we came to conclusion that it is all about Christ. The meaning of it is spiritual, and all people are equal. This is horrific what Christians of this country are supporting, and they're putting Jewish people on a place of Christ. They're saying they're the chosen people. We are all chosen. We are all chosen.
Yes.
Just like Jesus says, everyone and anyone
whosoever will, let him come to me.
Right, exactly. So
you need to win Jews to Christ so that they'll quit looking at the way they do at Palestinians, and then peace would come.
Right. And you can see, like, we played this Israeli teacher that we played for you.
That's a real Israeli.
Okay,
And
right.
he doesn't even probably know Jesus at this point.
No, but
he's got something in his heart that's
Yes.
convicting him.
Right. And then look at this right-wing Israeli government, terrorists. That's what they are. Kahani supporters. Look at Kahani theology. Okay, Ben Gvir is a Kahanist. And they love death and killing. And I have to watch and hear American pastors that used to be our friends, that we ate at one table together, and they're saying how great Ben Gvir is. So something is wrong here, and we have got to.
It's the spirit
wake
of
up.
Paul upon Israel and
Upon
even upon many
evangelicals.
pastors, right?
Right.
The spirit of Saul, not Paul, but Saul, they haven't woke up yet. And we need to try with love and kindness, win them over
Love
to
and
Christ.
kindness, but be firm, because
Yes.
love and kindness we have been trying for years, and
Listen,
somehow we didn't get anywhere.
I know we got just a short time
Yeah.
before we have to go, but let
Yes.
me real quick. I want to make a couple of shout outs real quick. Brother Joseph, Kathleen, so you'll know who you are. She sent me your number, and I'll be contacting you soon. Remember the brother you said that has been abused by the police?
Yes.
What's his first name?
I
Just his first name.
don't. I will bring it out at 6:00.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'll find
Listen,
him.
my brother, I got really in a lot of problems. I stood for a guy one time that was so abused by police when I worked with the sheriff's department back in the early 80s there. And they tried to railroad me because I stood for a man that was beaten for no reason. And he wasn't a black guy even, but I mean, it doesn't matter to me what color you were, but he was a white guy that was beaten to nearly to death by police officers that had lost their minds. And I stood for that man. I made a stance for him, and it nearly cost me my job.
There is a brother that went through tremendous abuse,
Yes, and that's what I heard.
we are
And
going
I'm
to have
wanting
him
to
on
have him on.
Patreon.
Okay.
And that's where you will find him at first. And
At
of course,
first,
we always
right.
release it to the public.
Yeah.
So be part of our Patreon channel. You support this ministry if you come to Patreon. So
Yes.
tell about Patreon.
And then, patreon.com/Israeli News Live. I am doing, and the reason I haven't released it yet, the one on being born again. It is going on Patreon, hopefully tonight. This is our dedication for videos today.
Yes.
But that video there is going to just totally, it'll cause you, if you've not truly been born again yet, you will want to truly know Christ at that level. Yes,
When he
so
lives in you,
beautiful,
and you love
beautiful.
all people, and you're pro peace, not pro war, and
Oh,
that's,
it'll change your views. You won't hate the Israelis for what they're doing,
there
but
is
you'll
love in our
realize
heart.
that you've got to get them to Christ if you ever expect them to quit abusing your brothers and sisters. Even though they may be Muslims, they need Christ as well. Oh my gosh. All right, let's close up. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Again, 6 p.m. live today, Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, live today. We're going into the betrayal. I don't know how we're going to title
it's
it
a
yet.
betrayal by medical community of us, our
Right.
platform,
And it's not
our
all.
family.
It's not all the docs that were there that betrayed us.
No.
There are some that have stood with us, and thank God for them. We really thank God for them. But you'll know more tonight from a very deep perspective. So join us here live on Israeli News Live. Share it with your friends. Post it on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Telegram, whatever kind of grams you got out there, an Exagram, etc., so that people can be here, because you're going to hear some very shocking information. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Stephen and Jana Benoon here with Israeli News Live and the Stephen Jana Chat.